A Uniqlo Supima t-shirt costs $19.90. A Brooks Brothers Supima t-shirt costs $69.50. The exact same cotton. The shirt is not. 5 cheap clothing brands are using the same materials as the designer labels, charging 3 times the price. By the end of this video, you will know which ones. Number 1. Kirkland Signature. Most men walk past the clothing section at Costco. Past the folded stacks of jeans, t-shirts, dress shirts, and outerwear. Past a private label that generates roughly $86 billion in annual sales. 1/3 of everything Costco sells carries the Kirkland Signature name. The clothing is a small corner of that business. But it is the corner most men do not know they should be paying attention to. Costco launched Kirkland Signature in 1995. The model was simple. Work directly with the factories that produce name brand products. Commission private label versions of the same goods. Sell them without a marketing budget, without wholesale layers, without retail markup. Pass the savings through to the member. This model is not a secret for batteries or paper towels. Kirkland batteries are made by Duracell. Kirkland diapers are made by Kimberly-Clark. The quality at half the price is widely accepted in every Costco warehouse in America. Same model applies to clothing. And almost no one talks about it. Kirkland Signature jeans retail for $15 to $20. 99% cotton. 1% spandex for the slightest stretch. Classic 5-pocket cut. Manufactured in the same kind of factories that produce mid-tier American denim at 3 to 4 times the price. The t-shirts run $6 to $9 for a 3-pack. The dress shirts $30 to $40. The chinos $20 to $25. The outerwear, when it appears seasonally, undercuts comparable retail product by 50 to 70%. Real customer reports of Kirkland jeans outlasting $60 Levi's have circulated online for years. The explanation is not magic. It is the absence of 4 layers of markup between the factory and the shelf. The factory cost of the jean is roughly the same in both cases. The Levi's retail price includes the marketing budget, the wholesale distributor margin, the department store rent, and the brand premium. The Kirkland retail price includes the factory cost and a Costco warehouse shelf. The only cost of buying Kirkland clothing is a Costco membership, $65 a year. For most men who buy even 2 pairs of Kirkland jeans annually, the membership pays for itself in one visit. The membership also covers the rest of the household's needs. So the clothing savings arrive on top of savings across every other category. Take the stitch count test from later in this video. Apply it to a pair of Kirkland jeans next to a department store pair at 3 times the price. The construction is frequently identical. The difference is the label. This is the cheapest entry on this list. It is also the one most men already have access to and never use. Number 2, Uniqlo. Uniqlo's parent company began as a men's clothing shop in 1949 in Yamaguchi, Japan. The Uniqlo brand itself launched in 1984 in Hiroshima and became the company's default name by 1988. Today, Uniqlo is a subsidiary of Fast Retailing and the 8th largest fashion retailer in the world. In some cities, lines form outside their flagship stores at opening time. And yet, the average American man still considers Uniqlo a budget brand for fast fashion basics. That assumption is costing him money. Uniqlo is the closest thing in global retail to a technology company that happens to sell clothing. Their basic research institute in Ariake, Tokyo develops fabrics in-house. Heat tech insulation, Arism moisture wicking technical wear, 3D knit construction for seamless sweaters. These are not marketing names attached to off-the-shelf fabric. They are proprietary textiles developed through research programs that most fashion brands do not have the engineering capacity to run. The Heat Tech line was developed in partnership with Tear Industries, the same textile science company that produces fabrics for aerospace and high-performance athletic use. The flagship product for this list is the Supima cotton t-shirt, $19.90. Supima is a trademark designation for American-grown extra-long staple cotton. Less than 1% of global cotton production qualifies. It is the same grade used by Brooks Brothers in their $69 Supima t-shirt. The same grade appears in premium menswear at $100 and up. At $19.90, Uniqlo sells that cotton with Japanese manufacturing quality control. Weight, hand feel, seam construction, neckline stability, all calibrated to specifications Japanese supervisors review before the shirts leave the factory. For denim, Uniqlo partners with Kaihara, one of Japan's leading premium denim mills. Kaihara was founded in 1893 and is considered the backbone of Japanese denim production. The same mill supplies fabric to several of the Selvage heritage brands we have covered in our denim video. Uniqlo's Selvage line at $50 uses denim woven on Kaihara looms in Hiroshima, the same looms that produce $200 Japanese heritage jeans. The difference between the two products is the finishing and the label, not the fabric source. Japan took the obsession it applied to selvage denim and raw indigo and applied the same discipline to everyday essentials. The result is a store where nothing costs more than $50 and most items outperform clothing priced at 3 to 4 times the rate. Before we continue, you need 4 tests, 4 things you can check in any store, to separate a cheap garment that delivers from one that only looks cheap. First, read the cotton label. Look for the words Supima or long staple or extra long staple or Pima. These are the cottons that survive 50 washes without pilling. Standard cotton pills within 10 to 15 washes. The label tells you which one you are holding. Second, count stitches per inch. Turn the garment inside out. Look at a seam. Measure a 1-inch section. Premium construction runs 8 to 12 stitches per inch. Commodity construction runs 5 to 7. Dickies 874 work pants, we will get to them, run 10 to 11. Most department store chinos at $150 run 7 to 8. The $30 work pant outstitches the designer chino. This single test done in the store will tell you more about construction than any marketing copy on the website. Third, country of origin is a partial signal, not an absolute one. Japanese manufacturing, American manufacturing, Portuguese manufacturing generally maintain higher specifications than some Bangladesh or Vietnam facilities. But the exception proves the rule. Uniqlo's Vietnam operations are run under Japanese supervision to Japanese standards. The country on the tag matters less than the company controlling the line. Fourth, the wash test. If a $30 shirt looks better after 50 washes than a $150 shirt looks after 10, you have your answer. This test costs nothing but time. And time is how every claim in this video eventually gets verified. The cheap brands on this list survive that test. Most designer brands do not. Every video on this channel applies these same tests. No brand deals, no sponsorships. If that is useful to you, subscribe. Number 3, Land's End, founded in 1963 in Chicago by Gary Kummer. Kummer was a copywriter who had taken up sailing, and the first catalog was built around sailing. Hardware, shackles, ropes, canvas sail bags. The name itself was a sailing reference, borrowed from a clifftop promontory in Cornwall, England. Within a decade, the catalog expanded into clothing. Within 2 decades, Land's End was one of the most trusted names in American mail-order menswear. For men over 45 watching this video, Land's End is a familiar name. Your father probably had a Land's End Oxford shirt hanging in his closet. You may have owned one yourself in college or at your first office job. The catalog itself, 40 pages of crisp photography and detailed product descriptions, was a fixture in American mailboxes for decades. The brand has changed hands multiple times. Manufacturing moved offshore in the late 2000s, and longtime customers noticed the shift. That decline is real, and it deserves to be acknowledged. But here is what also happened. Lands' End kept their Supima cotton lines. They kept the construction specifications on their core dress shirt, and they kept the price disciplined. The Hyde Park Oxford retails for $29.99. American-grown Supima cotton, no iron finish, pinpoint button-down collar. The pinpoint weave is denser and finer than standard Oxford cloth. It drapes better, wrinkles less, and holds its shape through repeated wear. The same construction silhouette that defined the American Oxford cloth button-down for 6 decades. Compare this directly. Brooks Brothers sells their iconic Oxford button-down for $98 to $140. Same Supima cotton source grade, similar collar construction, similar fabric weight. The Brooks Brothers shirt carries 2 centuries of American menswear heritage. That is real. But on a Tuesday morning, worn under a suit, that $30 Lands' End shirt and that $140 Brooks Brothers shirt are performing the same job to the same standard. The man sitting across the conference table cannot tell which one you are wearing. And after 50 washes, the Lands' End shirt still looks like a proper Oxford button-down. Lands' End also offers traditional fit, tailored fit, and big and tall sizing. Most men's brands abandoned the full-size range when private equity came through. Lands' End kept it. The shirt your boss wore in 1985 is still on the rack at $30. Most men do not know this. The men who do know this buy 6 at a time. Number 4, LL Bean. Founded in 1912 in Freeport, Maine by Leon Lenwood Bean. Still privately held, still run by descendants of the original family. 113 years of continuous family ownership is a statistic that does not exist anywhere else in American clothing retail at this scale. The brand was built on a single product. The Maine hunting shoe, now called the Bean Boot. Leon Lenwood Bean designed it in 1911, tested it, sold the first 100 pairs, and had 90 of them returned because the stitching failed. He refunded every customer, redesigned the boot, and guaranteed the next version for life. That guarantee became the foundation of the brand. The Bean Boot has been in continuous production for over 100 years. The design is essentially unchanged, and it is still made in Maine. Not assembled in Maine, made in Maine. The rubber bottoms are molded in Lewiston. The leather uppers are sewn in Brunswick. Every pair goes through American hands. And when the rubber bottom eventually wears through, which takes a decade or more of regular use, LL Bean will resole the boot rather than replace it. The Bean Boot retails for $149. For an American-made leather and rubber boot that is built to be resold indefinitely and backed by a century-old guarantee, this is a price that does not exist anywhere else in American menswear. LL Bean currently produces approximately 425 SKUs in the United States. The chamois shirt, a heavyweight cotton flannel, originally designed for Maine hunters in the 1920s, retails for $45. The field coat runs in the $100 range. The canvas boat and tote bag, first introduced in 1944 as an ice-carrying bag, retails for $35 and is made in Maine. These are the original items, not reissues, not Heritage Line revivals. The same products, in continuous production, at prices that have barely kept pace with inflation. The Freeport flagship store stayed open 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. From 1951 through most of the past 70 years. Customers would drive hours in the middle of the night to buy a pair of Bean boots on a hunting trip. That is the kind of loyalty a brand builds over a century. The Signature line launched in 2010 with modern fits at slightly higher prices. Most LL Bean customers still shop the core catalog. And the core catalog is where the value lives. A brand that refused to chase trends for 113 years. The boot that started it is still the same boot. At $149, it costs a fraction of what designer brands charge for lesser construction, with no guarantee and no American manufacturing. This is a brand that earned every word of its reputation. Number 5. Dickies. The Dickies story begins in 1918 in the small town of Bryan, Texas, where C.N. Williamson and E. Colonel Dickey started a vehicle and harness business. 4 years later, in 1922, they established the Williamson-Dickey Manufacturing Company in Fort Worth, Texas, and pivoted the business from horse gear to workwear. Bib overalls, denim trousers, clothing built for farmhands, ranchers and factory workers across the Southwest. By the 1930s, even as the Great Depression crushed most apparel manufacturers, Williamson-Dickey expanded. Their approach was counterintuitive. When the economy tightened, workers needed clothing that would last longer. Dickies doubled down on durability at a low price and grew through the decade. By the 1950s, the brand was outfitting American workers, mechanics, tradesmen and farmers across the country. By the 1960s, it had become the default workwear uniform in industries that demanded durability at a price working men could afford. In 1967, Dickies launched the 874 Original Work Pant. It has been in continuous production since, functionally unchanged for nearly 6 decades. The 874 retails for $30. 65% polyester, 35% cotton twill, triple needle stitching at stress points, stain release finish, permanent crease. A cut designed to fit a man moving through real physical work for 8 to 12 hours a day. Those construction specifications are not cheap adaptations for a cheap market. They are the specifications of a pant designed to survive conditions that destroy commodity chinos in a season. The 874 runs 10 to 11 stitches per inch. The stain release finish is a chemical treatment applied at the factory that resists the oils, greases, paints and food debris that destroy standard fabric. The permanent crease survives industrial washing. These features exist in $30 pants because the customer base, chefs, tradesmen, mechanics, warehouse workers demanded them for a century. Compare this to the designer chino market. Designer workwear-inspired chinos at $150 to $250 borrow the aesthetic of the 874 without borrowing the construction. 7 to 8 stitches per inch. No stain finish, no permanent crease, no triple needle stress point reinforcement. The designer version is the appearance. The Dickies is the engineering. The cultural footprint of the 874s goes far beyond workwear. Professional chefs wear them in kitchens across the country. The stain release finish was practically designed for restaurant work. Skateboarders adopted them in the 1980s and the pant became the default uniform of West Coast skate culture through the following decades. Hip-hop artists wore them through the 1990s, which pulled Dickies into streetwear. Artists, musicians and painters have worn them for generations because they survive paint, glue and industrial use that ruins anything else. The work pant your grandfather wore. The work pant your father wore. Still $30. Still the same specifications. Still manufactured to conditions that most modern designer brands cannot match at any price. 5 brands. 5 prices that should not be possible for the quality delivered. 5 names that have been sitting on the shelf the entire time. While the fashion press covered designer launches and influencer drops and celebrity collaborations. The pattern connecting all 5 is the absence of one or more layers of markup. Kirkland eliminated the wholesale and brand marketing layers. Uniqlo eliminated the fashion house margin by building its own fabric research in-house. Lands' End stripped the retail markup through direct catalog and online sales. LL Bean kept family ownership and refused to chase trends. Dickies kept one product in continuous production for 60 years instead of redesigning it every season. Every one of them put the money into the garment instead of the brand. The 4 tests still apply. Check the cotton. Count the stitches. Read the country of origin and give the garment 50 washes. The brands on this list survive that sequence. Most brands at 3 to 5 times these prices do not. The men who know these brands tend to stay quiet about it. They buy their 6 Lands' End shirts. They replace their Dickies every few years when the specific pair finally gives up. They drive to Costco twice a year for a stack of basics. They have worn the same bean boots through 4 presidential administrations. These are the men who were never looking for a logo. They were looking for clothing that does its job and does not ask for attention. If you own a cheap brand you swear by, drop the brand in the comments. And how long has your favorite piece lasted? Help the next man find the gold mine he is missing. If you missed our breakdown on the 8 clothing brands men can still trust, the Buy It for Life Heritage list, it is linked below. Over 55,000 men have watched that one. And our video on the 7 clothing brands robbing you blind covers the same pattern in reverse. What to avoid, not just what to buy. Both follow the money the same way this one did. Subscribe if you have not. This channel follows the money, not the marketing.